Hello! Back-to-back videos that I've recorded here. Maybe you're watching these back-to-back. We are looking at a free response non-calculator question. This is not from a particular year. If it is, I have no idea where it's from, but it's just a random question from the College Board question bank. So let's dive into it. The question was, let f be an increasing function with f of 0 equal to 2. The derivative of f is given by blah. Find f double prime of negative 2. Well, let's go ahead and pull that up. We simply want to take the second derivative. So, to take the second derivative, you look at that sine function and you go, what's the derivative of sine? Cosine. And chain rule says leave the inside of the function alone, but we need to address the inside of the function. You take the derivative of the outside function first, leave the inside alone, and then multiply by the derivative of the inside. The derivative of pi x is simply pi plus the derivative of x squared is 2x plus the derivative of 3 is 0. So that's it. There's f double prime. You earn a point for properly applying the chain rule. And in my opinion, that means you probably can get the 2x wrong, right? Now, I hope you don't get the 2x wrong, but it sounds like you could, right? As long as you apply the chain rule, you're getting a point. All right, then we proceed to plug in the number 2. So cosine of, I'm going to write that as 2 pi, so that way it looks a bit nicer, times pi plus 2 times 2. Well, cosine of 2 pi is 1. You just need to know that. That's your unit circle. So 1 times pi is pi plus 4. So pi, did I make a mistake? Oh, it's negative 2. Apologies. It's f of negative 2 in the question. So this is still 1, but it's minus 4. Apologies. Getting maybe a little tired. All right. So cosine of 2 pi is 1 times the pi on the outside. 1 times pi is pi minus 4. And that's your f double prime of negative 2. And you get the second point for the answer. All right. No justification or anything needed. Just show a little bit of work and you're fine. All right. Part B. Write an equation for the line tangent to the graph of y equals 1 over f of x at x equals 0. So to write the equation of a line, you need to know a point and you need to know slope. You need to know a point and you need to know a slope. Let's address the point first, okay? They told us the function is 1 over f of x, and they would like us to find the point for x equals 0, okay? So with that being said, that means we simply plug in. So at x equals 0, y equals 1 over f of 0. Well, what is f of 0? We kind of need to know that. Well, can we plug f into the function? We don't know the function. Do we integrate this and solve for f? Please don't, because guess what? It's right here. F of 0 equals 2. F of 0 equals 2. So 1/2. So the point is 0, comma 1/2. There's your point. But you also need to know slope to write the equation of the tangent line. So we need to derive in order to find slope. So y equals f of x to the negative 1 is how I'm going to write this now. And when I derive it, it becomes negative 1 times f of x to the negative 2. Well, That's the power rule. Sorry, that's the power rule. But there's a function on the inside, so we must multiply by the derivative of the inside, and that is chain rule. Yeah, understood? So we then find y prime at specifically x equals 0. And that's going to be that, right? We just simply need to plug in the number 0 for x and see what happens. Well, we still know what f of 0 is. F of 0 is 2. So this is 2 to the negative 2 times an f prime of 0. F prime of 0, we calculated. No, we didn't calculate, but we can plug it in. F prime of 0 is, when you plug that in, sine of 0 is 0. 0 squared is 0. Plus 3 is 3. So f prime of 0 is 3. You could leave it like that, and technically you're not wrong, but this doesn't really look like a slope, right? But we could rewrite this. 2 to the negative 2 is 1/4. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. So it looks a little bit prettier as negative 3/4. But technically, you're not wrong if you just write this. I want that to be clear. So when I go to write the equation of the tangent line, what am I doing? Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. That's point slope form. So y minus 1/2, where'd that come from? The fact that we solved for the point earlier in the problem, equals, and again, just to prove my point, I could write negative 3/4 here, right? I could do that because that's the right answer. But again, if just like, you don't have to simplify things, right? So technically, you could write negative 1 times 2 to the negative 2 times 3 times x minus 0, and you're still right. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to really prove that point that, like, simplifying is not the thing you need to be worrying about. Getting common denominators, screwing around with exponents, like, as fun as that can be sometimes, honestly, right? If you enjoy math, it's like sometimes that can actually be fun, to kind of the puzzle that is simplifying. But that's not the objective, okay? We don't need the pretty answer. And if it saves you time just to copy and paste it, then copy and paste it. I don't mean to be on a soapbox about that, but, I'm just saying. All right, let's move on. Let g be the function defined by g of x equals f of this messy square root. Find g prime of 2. So we want to take the derivative of this function. Now, I'd like to rewrite this slightly. Okay, so how many functions are here? F on the outside, the square root, or aka the 1/2 power, and the parabola that's on the inside. 3 functions. So when we take the derivative, you're first taking the derivative of the outside function and leaving everything else alone, and then multiplying by the next inside function, the derivative of the next function. So the derivative of the square root, which is the 1/2 power, that's simply a power rule. So times that 1/2 is going to come down, leave the inside alone, and that 1/2 power has just been changed to negative 1/2. And then finally multiply by the derivative of the inside of that, and that's 6x. So the derivative of f came first, left everything alone. The derivative of the power rule came next, left the inside alone. and finally the derivative of the inside. So double chain rule, not once, but twice. And you earn 2 points for this derivative. Now, it says here, if I look at the notes, the first and second points require evidence of applying the chain rule twice and no errors. At most, 1 out of 3 points is earned for partial communication of chain rule with a maximum of 1 computational error. So I guess I'm hearing that and going, okay, you could have messed up somewhat, but as long as there's evidence that you're applying a chain rule, they're going to give you 1 point. But if you do both chain rules right, you're going to get 2 points. That's what they're saying. So here's your chain rule. And then the question, if we go back, simply asks you to find g prime of 2. So if we find g prime of 2, that just means we need to plug in the number 2. Now, that looks pretty crazy, right? I plugged in the number 2 here, here, and here, because that's where x was in the problem, right? What needs to be simplified further? I'd like you to take a moment and reflect upon that, maybe even pause. Which part actually needs to be simplified so that way we can have a final answer? And the answer is this stuff over here. This I can leave completely alone. Why do I need to simplify the inside here? Because I still have to find f prime of whatever this is, right? We can't leave f prime. That is the issue here. We have to find f prime of 2 squared is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus 4 is 16. And 16 raised to the half is 4. We need to find f prime of 4. Everything else, if you want to do a little bit of math, sure. But everything else can be left completely alone. There's no need to solve it. F prime of 4, though, does need to be solved. And f prime of 4 can be found by using the function f prime, which is given to us in the problem. And I have it written all the way up here at the top. F prime of 4. What is it? Sine of 4 pi is 0. Because sine of 2 pi is 0. So just do another 2 pi and you're still at 0. Plus, what am I plugging in? 4, right? So plus 4 squared is 16. Plus 3 is 19. So this is 19 times, again, you could try to simplify a little bit of this, or you can just copy and paste over and over. There's no need, there's no need to make a mistake. If you trust yourself that you did it right here, then just keep on writing it. Now, I will tell you that if you did simplify it, it comes out to 57 over 2. But man, the work that it would probably take to get to that is valuable seconds. Completely unneeded. Don't do it. H is the inverse of f. What is h prime of 2? Now, do you have the derivative of the inverse memorized from your flashcards? If you do, great. If you don't, tough cookies, okay? How do you find the derivative of the inverse? Well, let me prove it to you. Let me demonstrate where the memorized flashcard comes from. Let me demonstrate. I showed this back in the day, but let's see it again. What does it mean to be inverses? What it means to be inverses is that when you plug the inverse in to the original function, when you plug h into f, you will get the answer x. That's what inverses do. because they undo each other, right? The inverse of addition is subtraction, and the inverse of multiplication is division. They just undo each other. So f undoes h, and you're just left with x, right? The f and the h cancel one another out, and you're just left with h, okay? So what happens when we derive both sides of this equation? F prime of h of x times h prime of x, that's me doing the chain rule, derivative of the outside function, leave the inside alone, multiplied by the derivative of the inside function equals 1, because the derivative of x is 1. And we want to know the derivative of the inverse. Which one is the inverse? H, right? So h prime of x, the derivative of the inverse, equals 1 over f prime of h of x. And that is what you memorize on your flashcard. It might have been the letter G instead of the letter H. I don't remember. But that is the derivative of the inverse. 1 over f prime of h. 1 over the derivative of the OG function of the inverse, right? So, with that being said, what is h prime of 2? 1 over f prime of h of 2. Now, this is a little tricky because what is h of 2? We can go back to the problem. I mean, they just told us. They just invented h. Like h hasn't been mentioned until now. So, where is h of 2 going to come from? Well, it's the inverse of f. What does that mean? It's the inverse of f. It's the opposite. It's the reverse. Do you know what part of the question is valuable? Do you already know what I'm going to say? The f of 0 equals 2. If f of 0 equals 2, the h function takes us in the reverse direction. H of 2, the inverse, equals 0. If f of 0 equals 2, then the inverse of 2 is 0. So h of 2 is 0. And what is f prime of 0? Well, we go back to our f prime function one more time. F prime is this whole thing. So sine of 0 is 0, plus 0 squared is 0, plus 3 is 3. So the answer, 1/3. That question is only 1 point. Did you get the answer or did you not? Did I explain the points on the other one? I did. The chain rule and the answer. Yep. All right. This one was shorter than the last one. Incredible. 18 and a half minutes. I hope I'm talking at a good pace. I hope I'm saying some things that are helping you come to realizations, and I hope you're learning, right? Have a good rest of your whatever. Thanks for watching. And I don't know if I have another one in me. We'll see. But thank you for watching. Ta-ta.